sector is clear.
Give us everything we got! All wings!
Hola, how's it going? Today, Frankie and I will be discussing a very sensitive topic. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about?
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Alright, so, we are going to talk about nothing but exciting. We are talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., possibly one of
Braveheart?
the best Marvel TV shows ever to be made. Yes,
Yeah,
take it from there.
we're basically going to talk about our season 7. We just purchased it and watched the whole thing this weekend. So, we're basically going to talk about season 7, what we thought about the season, and then to further that even more, some theories, some breakdowns, some talk, some review, everything. Just a little bit of everything Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And if you like this content, please let me know in the comments so that we can further some talk. And that was really lame, but I think that was a lame intro. You ready? You ready to get started?
Hey, well, you know what? What do you expect from us? We're small timers. We
All
can't
right.
be expected to do everything.
Okay. So let's start off first with the good about this show. And do you want to talk about your first good thing about this new season?
I would love to. The first good thing is that it was almost something new every episode. It was the same problem, stop the Chronocoms from, changing the past and destroying S.H.I.E.L.D., but yet it took a new spin off of what it actually was. It wasn't, oh, we're at S.H.I.E.L.D. base and we need to go out on a mission to try and stop the bad guys and, come back either defeated or successful, depending on the episode and how late into the season. No, it was, first we were in, the 1900s. Well, for most of the season we were in the 1900s, but different timelines, different stories, and we got amazing character development that was just awesome. My favorite was Mac and the D. That's
Nice.
probably one of the best character developments.
I gotta say that was actually a really underrated episode. I was by me, because I was thinking about it. When you think about favorite episodes for that season, of course you think about the time loop, you think about the finale, but that episode was actually phenomenal. Honestly, great humor, great production, great tone. I really like that. So I'm
Yes.
glad you brought that
The
up.
fact that he continues to steal from the future for his own benefit was awesome.
I know. I think was it midway through an episode. I'm like, that song didn't come out in 1983, and I searched it up and
Yeah.
2015.
No, it was 2014.
Something. It was funny, and I literally did the research to see how accurate they were. I'm like, man, Deke is something else. Is that it for the good, or do you have like 5 different things? Like, was that all of them?
Um, I feel like there was probably like four different things that I explained that were all good, but I'll do one more. The fact that we went back and we saw some of our favorites, um, or not so favorites, kind of just like adding on to
Hmm.
past characters that got cut off too early or wasn't really that well explained and gave them some new paths, I guess you could say, like Jiaying and Malik.
I
You
like
know,
that. Yeah. I like that they brought in the new sister too. They like some characters that were supposed to be dead. They like brought them in for a new episode, and I thought that was really cool. I like how they like kind of created a new timeline. I think is that how they explained it. So then they were
yes.
able to like rewrite a lot of work, and I really appreciated that personally. So, but then in this new timeline, you have Daisy from another timeline. Like I know it made a lot of sense why Daisy was still alive after her mom killed. It's just complicated to explain. But you can keep going.
Um, but I just feel like that was a very good like way to fill in dead space when all we're really seeing is time jumps. So it was nice to see some old faces and have some fun with it. And like you said, throughout the season, there was just a lot of jokes. Coulson's actor was just completely unleashed in this season, just ready to be funny and
I
take it all
know.
away.
That was one of my favorite things, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't even write that down. But it felt like this season they just let Clark Gregg go crazy. Because I don't know if you follow Clark Gregg on Instagram or follow him in real life, but this version of Coulson, the quote unquote LMD, felt more Clark Gregg and more almost comic book Coulson than ever. The other one was very serious, and this one I really felt like they just let him take full control of this season. They're like, this is your last season. And I could be completely wrong. They could have just written him really that well. But I just feel like this version of Clark Gregg just wow, did he took it away from an acting perspective.
Absolutely.
All right, is that about it or you got anything else? I'm not trying to step on toes.
Um, we can move on to the bad.
Well, let me go with my good real quick first then. I've got
Go right
I've got
ahead.
some good ones. Yes. So first of all, kind of like what you said, the character development furthering the story was amazing. I feel like they really broke down each character, and not every episode was about 10 characters at once. I really liked the Yo-Yo and May episode where they were really building and bonding, and just the idea of May being an empath, I thought was off the wall. I thought that that was such good writing because you think about it, her character, she's supposed to be this bad. Um, Only form of love you really saw was with Coulson and then that one night stand with Ward back in season one. But like you didn't really see her have emotion ever. So it was really cool to see her have like empathy powers where she could feel others' emotions. I thought that was really well written. I like of course the Deacon Mac, but I also like the Coulson LMD. I really thought that he was written well. One of the other really good things about this show was the dark and gritty mixed with fun tones. Stuff that you wouldn't think sound well. I don't know if you remember Flash with Savitar and then the following season. It just and that's two separate seasons. Savitar season for Flash and then the following season were like two different tones and that was bad for me. This season was all different kinds of tones and it worked. It worked really well and I think maybe because of the time jumps. Um, but I thought like it.
Exactly. It
Go ahead.
it wasn't like just jumping from like place to place in the same time where nothing kind of makes sense. Like it makes no sense that something changed so like dramatically. It makes sense that, you know, you're going to be treated differently in this timeline
Mhm.
than in your normal timeline because things are different. And when TV shows make that kind of choice where something suddenly changes, it kind of ruins the show in a
Yeah.
way. It kind of ruins the flow of how everything kind of works together because you feel like you kind of just run into a brick wall, kind of just like
Yeah.
you were
Because
flowing
then,
down a really nice season, and then suddenly you drop,
yep,
and it
I
kind of
agree.
slows it down, and that kind of just makes it to where you don't want to watch it.
Mm.
They did it to where they were messing with time and they were going back and forth, so it made sense for them to drop and
It
slow down.
it made sense for it not to make sense.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
feel like that was the whole point of the season. Well, we
It
don't
was
really want to write a complete script, but we want to make something. So
no,
let's just throw a bunch of our ideas from the past in there.
I really just like the darkness was dark, but the light tones were like surprisingly light. It was on both sides of the spectrum. And personally for me, the humor, all of the humor throughout the season just hit home. It didn't feel forced, and I really liked that a lot.
It
Um,
didn't feel like The Last Jedi.
yes. Number three, Daniel Sousa from Agent Carter. Holy cow. Not only was it an amazing cameo, which I thought was all it was going to be, I thought it was just a one episode thing, but I was pleasantly surprised to hear that he came to the future with them and stayed there, and now he's, spoiler alert, hanging out with Daisy at the end. I thought that that was a great way to end his character. Um, I was very happy to see him come through, and I thought that his development in Agent Carter was okay, but it, they wrote off his character really well in this, and I really appreciated that. I think personally for him, he was very complimentary towards Daisy. Well, of course, but I thought he actually worked surprisingly well with Coulson too. I thought that the LMD version of Coulson and Deke. all of them were like all misfits in this team. So I thought their chemistry was something special. Number four, very large scale. All seasons were reflected in this season, villain included. But at points, it almost felt like it was cinematic. Like old seasons, you can tell when they're sitting on one point of the set, and it can kind of feel like a set. This felt like a movie where there was like no place they wouldn't travel. It felt huge. It felt like you could tell there was a lot of money that was put into it, and all the places they traveled, it just felt like a movie. It felt like there was no limitations, you know? I don't know if you noticed that, but that was definitely something I appreciated a lot. And then last thing, number five, I was so pumped. Realm travel outside of Ant-Man in Endgame. I thought that was so exciting, just because it introduced it, and that's one of the biggest questions everyone had from Endgame. That city there, and clearly they didn't answer the city. But what is that city? Clearly that was something for down the road. But now Marvel's showing, hey, we're willing to play around with the quantum realm. We're willing to play around with these different dimensions, and I think that could be really fun for introducing the Fantastic Four and the X-Men somehow through TV shows. And maybe this last season of Shield, it was so good. Marvel goes and says, "Hey, TV shows have shown that it works to do crossovers. Let's do this bigger scale. Let's do more production." And actually, I'll get more into that later. But I think in general, I was very excited with the Quantum Realm making an appearance and solving a lot of the problems. But you ready to go into the bad, or do you want to talk about what I said?
No, I definitely agree with the quantum realm. It seems like they're not afraid to go back to it, which is great. And I feel like that is another good idea for even just another Marvel TV show because, they're ending this one and it did
Hmm.
so well. So I think they're going to want to pick it up in sort of, kind of the same area. And I also think they're going to look at like, oh, how many views did we have this season? How many views did we have this season? What piqued interest in the most viewers out of the season of
Hmm.
which, you know, and yeah, it can fluctuate because a lot of people, obviously would stop watching for one reason or another, or just some fans can't make time to watch the show live and they'll purchase it off of PS4 store or, maybe Disney Plus. But
Yeah.
um, I think it would be a good idea to at least take something from this show and make it another. But I feel like having a shield that is just completely dedicated to the quantum realm, and just jumping from time to time,
Or
fixing
dimension to
things,
dimension.
dimension to dimension, to where certain characters are completely different, like we saw, and you know I
It,
just think it would be such a great idea. I feel like it would be a show that would keep you on your toes, and it could go in just so many directions. It could hit into the Marvel movies, or it can go into other shows that they have existing to make people that are unaware aware. It would just make no sense not to.
Yeah. And last thing before we move on to the bad, but I really hope that they use the quantum realm to kind of like how they use time travel to pick our boy Daniel Sousa up out of the 19 was it 60s? I am taking a shot in the dark. I'm hoping that that's how they are able to grab some of these Agents of Shield cast for cameos by using the quantum realm, because that would open up a whole gateway of TV show ideas. But let's go ahead and move on to the bad. So, this is my favorite thing about the show. It's very hard to find the bad, but the bad is usually very impactful and frustrates me. So I'll let you go first, and I'll just build off of what you're saying. You can go ahead and take it away.
Oh, I'm gonna let you know right now that I did not find five things.
Oh, you're only supposed to do like this one. I only did one or two.
Oh, okay. Um, this is for more of the whole show in its entirety and not like the season itself, season 7. It kind of felt like at some points in each season it kind of dragged on because they're sticking on a subject and they work so hard to make it a good ending that sometimes it kind of feels just dragged on and you don't want to watch anymore. And that's when you've already watched it and you're binging the series to, catch up or just have fun. It, you know how long of a wait it is. You can expect, oh, I can,
These
do
are the
something
episodes.
while this
Yeah,
tracks. But,
this is the episode I
when you're sitting
skipped.
there
This is the
watching it for the
episode.
first time,
Go ahead.
right? Well, when you're sitting there watching it for the first time, it, or even just showing someone for the first time, it kind of feels like they won't pay attention and they won't sit there for the ride and what this great TV show has to offer. Um, Another one is sometimes they throw in characters that are really interesting and really fun, but then they take them out for that suspense or for the sake of the story. They have a lot of cool mutants and just kind of characters that you would think made sense there that they took out. And personally, I feel like that's also a good is that they'll kill almost anyone.
Yeah.
Which I feel like if any show does that, I feel like they're automatically a great show. You never expect what's going to happen next. Anyone could die. It's one of my favorite things about a lot of different shows.
Trip
No
and
one's
Lincoln are
safe.
great examples of what you're saying. I agree.
Exactly. Agent Triplet, hands down, the saddest death out of season two. Season
Especially
two, I
because it
think it
was
was.
pointless. Looking back at it, it was
Exactly.
pointless. He didn't have to
Right.
die. Regardless, she was fine. That was
Yeah.
that was what
If
made it
anything, make
frustrating.
him a make him a mutant. Make him a.
No, he died though. It
Yeah,
was
I
really
know.
he dead, bro. I don't know what you talking about. No, I agree entirely, and I think that it's a good and bad thing that they're willing to kill off anyone. But their dedication to some characters is a little frustrating, especially the characters you finally started to get to like. Bam, they're dead. You know, you don't get to
Hmm.
actually spend a lot of time with characters, and the redemption arc for some is also kind of weak. I'll agree.
Um, but I feel like those are the two that kind of stick out. It's kind of like the rewatching it is awesome. You know, even if you don't like a certain episode for one reason or another, you can always skip 20 minutes ahead and then something interesting is happening.
Yeah,
And, you know, like I said, killing characters for suspense and for the story, yes, it's necessary, but at the same time,
it can be really frustrating.
it can be frustrating, and I feel like a lot of people smashed their TVs when Gemma was taken onto the planet, and
No, that suspense was good
everyone's.
though. That suspense
Yes, I
was
know. I'm
good.
just saying, everyone probably smashed a TV or two when they thought she was dead.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't kill her there. And some people are like, oh, they could have had the guts and killed off a main character. Nah, fam, that's a good, happy that she's still alive.
Exactly.
All right, any other bad you have
Um, I'm sure I can pick up a few.
as
I
I
know you
talk?
said you have a few, so.
Okay, let's get right into the biggest spoiler. Fitz was they talked about him that you couldn't see his location. Okay, whatever. I agree. The story, whatever. That's fine. I'm okay not knowing his location for the first two episodes. Nah, first 8 episodes. But fam, we didn't get to meet him, or see, not meet him, but see Fitz in the last season, the most important season, his finale, his arc. We didn't get to see it until the last episode. Like only 40 minutes. Like if you're watching live, it was a 2-hour finale. You only saw him for 40 minutes or half of it. You know, so that was very frustrating for me. I wish they would have or I wish they would have found Fitz and then furthered his story. I felt like everyone besides him got a really good ending and a really good arc to this show, and I was very frustrated when they did not. They kind of just felt like his arc was over, even though it wasn't. I felt like they could have explained some things, especially the doctor and stuff like that. I feel like it would have been just nice in general for him to get his own hero's arc or his full come around circle. Because I know last season he was questioning him and his ethics, and then all of a sudden new version of him that they got up in space was good. It was just really frustrating to see that everyone else in this show had an episode where it's just primarily about that person and maybe one other character. Even Enoch got a lot of that. So it was very frustrating that in my I named a dog after him, okay? Like he's my favorite character. So the fact that my favorite character didn't get his own story arc to finish the season and that it was a story arc, but it was an off-screen story arc and that was just very frustrating for me. That felt like lazy writing and they could have found something else out. Um yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about that for a second.
No, I definitely agree. I feel like they could have explained, or even just made a couple more episodes to explain everything that actually happened. I feel like the way that they introduced them having a daughter. I mean, I guess it's a little too late to say spoilers, but we already
I
said
said
spoilers, so
spoilers
it
several
works out.
times. You're good.
Um, um, the way that they introduced that Fitzsimmons had a daughter was a really good way of pronouncing it. It was a very pleasant surprise
It was a good
while
surprise.
we were.
Yes, I agree. I love the surprise of that. That was a good. I could have put added that. That's how good it was. But it was him and his arc alone. Like, come on, that was meh.
Yeah, we could have had an episode where he would have said, oh, something happened in the quantum realm, and this is how I figured it out. Maybe involving the city, or maybe introducing Doctor Doom, or perhaps, you know, someone from the Fantastic Four.
Something to further his story. Like, honestly.
Or even, it probably wouldn't work out since we already have Endgame. We would probably, run into Avengers or something,
Yeah, I agree. But regardless, I just feel like they were very lazy with one of the players. I think if they were lazy with Yo-Yo, that's one thing. They weren't, and I was very happy with that. If they were lazy with Mac, although he's become a big player, but he's not a core person. A core person is Coulson, May, Ward when he was, but clearly Ward's not anymore. Coulson, May, Fitzsimmons, and Sky, and they really just made this season more about Simmons, and I'm cool with that because she's my other fave. But yin yang type of thing. You can't have one without the other, and that was very frustrating. My second frustrating thing was that I felt like they should have done a big wedding for Fitzsimmons. That way you can have a cameo of everyone, just kind of everyone over the show that kind of took a leave or something, just to kind of take a break. Like, but what I'm hinting at is Bobby and Hunter. I love them dearly. And I feel like their story they left on, like, why they left, I thought was actually very compelling. But their story wasn't finished. It would have been nice to see them on screen for a second, maybe two, just at, like, Fitzsimmons' wedding or at the meeting. The meeting they had at the end would have been a perfect time to introduce Bobby and Hunter back into the show as a hey, how's it going, guys? Because that makes sense. That makes sense, you know. And all you gotta do is they can sit there for 30 seconds and talk, and they don't even have to have a scene like everyone else. They could just sit there and be present. They don't have to say anything. It would be one of those things for the fans. They're like, oh, it's them, you know. So I was a little frustrated that they didn't even get a cameo with how important they have been over past seasons. Even last season, Hunter made a cameo. So that the fact that that's all that was, disheartening almost. So
No, I definitely agree. I feel like it probably wouldn't have worked with how they did the meeting. They all weren't actually there. But I
hmm
feel like if it was an in-person meeting where it was kind of not even like a meeting, more of like a party, kind of like a reunion.
that's why I said like a wedding. A wedding would have been great. Like a Fitzsimmons another wedding. Because I don't think this
It
version
wouldn't
of
make
Fitz got
sense for
married,
them to
right?
have another wedding though,
No, no,
because
because
they already.
the version of Fitz that had the wedding died. Remember?
I thought they settled that off screen, or that could have been another thing that they could have explained about Fitz before they
Exactly,
had
but
their
they
daughter
didn't.
is having their wedding again.
Exactly, like a remake. That's a loophole. I don't know. I mean, clearly it didn't matter that much, but it was like that would have been a great excuse to get Hunter and Bobber, the gang, back together. um,
Bobber.
I called her Bobby tonight. Hunter and Bobby. They were such good characters, highly underrated. Bobby was more kick butt than May. Oh, don't hate me. I'm saying it. I thought that she was a lot better fighter in my opinion. One of those characters, or not even more better fighter, because I think May wins that fight 10 out of 10. But I think that her story and her calling card gave me like Arrow vigilante kind of stuff. You know, where Arrow used mostly like melee weapons and his bow, of course. Her with her batons, I thought was just so cool. And almost like that level famous. So, all right. So let's move on to some theories. This is the next space where we're just gonna openly talk back and forth. I'll let you start it off. But what character do you think could make a appearance? Kind of like how Daniel Sousa made an appearance in this show and then stuck. What character do you think could make an appearance on another show, a movie, you name it, and be successful?
Well, I definitely think, like we were talking about earlier off screen, was the possibility of probably in another show, not a movie, would be Deke. Because he's still there in that alternate timeline.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel like it would just be good if I just feel like it would be good to see him and know that he's okay, and then, they didn't discard him because we never saw him. We never,
Afterwards, yeah.
yeah, exactly. We never got any clarification that that timeline was destroyed. Um,
I think they said it was still intact. I could be wrong if I am. Let me know in the comments. I think they said it was still intact, but it's just two different universes now, if I'm correct. So,
hmm. um, but I think that it's a possibility for Deke to show up in another TV series, possibly even my earlier idea of him popping up in a show that is regarded around. Oh, I'm blank spacing.
imagine a show like The Runaways, right? Something low scale, just a few Marvel characters. Why don't you grab them a low scale bootleg version of Shield? Because you know Deke is gonna mess it up somehow, and it's gonna be really weird. Grab a weird version of Shield to kind of aid and abet like some low budget TV show. I would like that. For the end of Deke's character, I think that just fits him so well for him to be in a low scale TV show. Um all right, well I'm gonna move on to mine, and I've got a few ideas. Number one, I'm gonna tell you who I'm not gonna have, especially for MCU purposes. MCU, we still kind of have Nick Fury coming back in as the head of Sword. I don't see us returning Mac, unfortunately. I think that they left his story really good. I don't want to see any more Mac. I feel like how they left him was perfectly fine. Another character I think they left perfectly fine was Yo-Yo. I thought she was good. I think that where they left her was just the normal what she does with her speed. Anybody, I mean, if they wanted to go and get a speedster that bad for a story, why don't you grab Quicksilver, because that could work story-wise. I don't think Yo-Yo is going to make a return, unfortunately. Maybe a cameo, but not a return, as like the question says. Last two that I'm also eliminating is Fitzsimmons, because they are retired. Respect them, because we don't need to be putting them in danger anymore, and I'm pretty sure the TV show gets it. I know it was a long-running joke that they're cursed. Let's leave them alone, okay? They are no longer cursed. They have kids. So then
Let's
who is
not
there
jinx
left?
it.
Exactly. So who is there left to pick from that you could still get some really reasonable story with? Well, first of all, I would love to see Secret Warriors with Daisy. Daisy and her sister Cora, with Daniel Sousa maybe being like a leader, or like an operative. But the Secret Wars, was it, or Secret Warriors? Basically a group that she leads, I think would be really pretty good. And it's allowed more Inhuman type people. I'd like to get back into that. So let's say they try to do another Inhuman reboot. Why don't you grab the best Inhuman we've seen on screen so far? Nothing against Black Bolt, but I'm saying the best written.
No,
Um,
I definitely agree. I feel like the most liable, most probable of seeing someone in a Marvel show or its own Marvel show or movie would definitely be Daisy, and picking up all the mutants that we already have in the Marvel Universe. We could even pick up, the New Mutants,
How
that
okay?
cast.
How great would that be for her to kind of come full circle, even though her mom did it in kind of a bad way, but her come through, and it doesn't even have to be with the New Mutants, but like bringing the mutants into the MCU and her kind of being like a help, like as an Xavier. That would be pretty fire, but like just someone to kind of
Taking your mother's place. I like
exactly
that.
running like her own personal afterlife. Um, last, and this is another Daisy theory, is her and Sword. We at the end we saw her and Sousa out in space. I think that we could potentially see her if she came into the MCU, meet up with Nick Fury and the Skrull and and run from Sword. I think maybe a screen appearance, kind of like Maria Hill jumping back and forth. Now, the reason why I like this one the most out of all the Daisy theories to probably happen is because in the comics, not Daisy Johnson, but Quake was her name, and Quake actually worked hand on hand with Nick Fury. She was his sneaky operative, and especially during the Secret Invasion time, which we have the scroll already set up for. Just saying, during the Secret Invasion, uh, she was his right hand man. We leave her off in space, and in comics, Secret Invasion. I think that's just a little too convenient, and I like it, and it leaves the door open just in case fans want to see it. Which, duh, she was a great character, great actor. I think that would be a genius idea. But
I
as you,
feel like that's very probable because if you know the comics, Sword is a space station where all the um, Skrull live, and that's basically just to defend Earth. And we saw Fury in the end of uh, Far From Home. Far From Home? Yes, Far From Home.
yeah,
I think it's very probable because the last shot that we saw of Daisy was her looking out at a galaxy with her sister. Sister? Sister?
you have a sister. Darth Vader, Return of the Jedi reference. If you didn't get
Oh
it.
god. But it's very probable that they could have been also looking at you know, I don't know how this would be possible, but maybe a portal to the quantum
Quantum
realm
realm.
where they even travel to that timeline, because it's not confirmed that we're in the timeline where the Avengers are currently.
Well, to build off of what you're also saying, the meeting happened 1 year later. Okay, 1 year later, maybe that's like just a coincidence, just to show some time has passed. But maybe they use that towards their advantage. They're out in space about to go through the quantum realm, but you don't know it. And or maybe they are, but they found a way because I know the machine was destroyed. Daisy and her genius group found a way to travel through the quantum realm to go help a Sword in space station, or they just maybe that's how they get there. Because I think they are in a different If I'm correct, they created their own little universe, and I think they're in something completely separate from the MCU. I think that that'd be a good way to get her back there. Um, I just think that there's too much going for it that might as well, especially because hey, you make the fans happy, and if people don't know who she is, they will. She's that level powerful. And if it works out on, let's say, a smaller scale movie, maybe a Captain Marvel 2, or something. I love saying that. And the fans love it. Turn Daisy into the leader, or make her part of the Secret Wars movie, or let her, I don't know, join the Avengers. I think that'd be pretty sweet. But here's the other characters that I was thinking about. What if they brought Bobby and Hunter back? I mean, I know I just ranted about them, but Mockingbird, that's her call sign, was actually a big time player in the comics and I think even some cartoon shows, she was a big time player. So I wouldn't be surprised if they brought maybe just Mockingbird. Doesn't have to be Hunter. But I think it'd be a great way to bring her back in, maybe as a vigilante, during some sort of unrest after the 5 years. I mean, you're looking for a whole new cast to be the new Avengers. Maybe put together a whole new group because the new Avengers haven't fully created yet. It could be like that bridge, and I think a lot of people would love that. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended well, but I think it's time that these characters spread out into different movies. I think that was all my theories. Actually, I'm just kidding. Last one, and you might hate this. So, what happened to Fitzsimmons' daughter? I mean, what about the idea of letting her, Miss Genius, be a part of the sword operation and go hang out with Daisy? I mean, that'd be cool. Do a little time travel, which we are seeing a little bit of either time travel or mental something in WandaVision, but we know Monica Rambeau is going to be in there as an older version of herself. I mean, what if you bring older version of Fitzsimmons' daughter in to be a member of the Avengers, like be their new brain. Because I know I think it's Marvel Future Fight, which is a mobile game. Gemma Simmons has made like some appearances, and so is Quake, and those are some big time rollers. I don't think some other of the smaller Agents of Shield characters did. But maybe that's a sign, and I know Gemma was actually in some of the comics. Maybe that's a sign. Hey, let's add her daughter in, or let's that Gemma's a bigger player than we thought, and maybe her daughter's gonna get some good signs, and maybe find her way as the new Genius or the new Fitzsimmons, because she's got both of them clearly in her blood, and be the new Smarty Pants, or kind of like what Arrow ended off with, where they had the twins. Not twins. They had William, who was nothing like his dad, and he turned out to be a genius. What if they turned out to do something else like that, where she turns out to be this crazy fighter, which would be super funny, just considering her parents? I don't know. I would love if they found a way to bring her in as a future Marvel star.
It would definitely be interesting to see just because it would continue on Fitzsimmons, and we would also potentially, depending on how old they bring her in to the MCU, get to see Deke again.
Exactly.
Or
I would
perhaps
love that.
even a younger Deke running into the older Deke, depending on where they are. Because, by then,
Or
Deke could be a really old rock star.
or younger Deke running into older Deke running into his younger mom. That's a dog. Like that's a little girl. Like that would be some funny content,
Oh,
especially in like a little rip-off show. And I think there's a lot of possibilities because they ended this show so well that they could possibly bring them in. Um, okay. So the next question we have for theories: what is the next step for Marvel TV shows going forward? I know we've had some really good Netflix ones in Jessica Jones, The Punisher, and Daredevil, which I personally some of my favorites. And I know we do plan on having some Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. But is that really the future for Marvel's TV shows, or is there something else going on?
I feel like with the ending of this, they are definitely trying to climb back up the ladder on their TV shows as well as their movies because they ended, phase one. They ended phase one. So they're starting to do phase two. Well, what's phase two? We have a whole new line of heroes to go to. We have offspring of Iron Man. We could have Iron Lad, or we could even have his daughter. Um, we could have the kid of Falcon. We could have so many options. We have She-Hulk, who's coming into the picture sometime. Yeah, she's getting her own TV show, and you know, rumors are that Mark Ruffalo, Hulk, is going to make an appearance in that show.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that we're going to see a lot of just newer random characters or even just cameos from old characters that are helping these younger Avengers pick up the mantle.
Mm.
Um,
So here's how I feel about that. Personally, I personally would hope they would maybe do a sword TV show and just kind of branch in and do their own thing. I think that the more new characters, the better. Because look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We had a lot of new characters outside of Coulson and Maria Hill, and they sprouted out and did phenomenal. So I would love to see them really just sprout out and do some wonders, do some nice stuff. Maybe bring in some cameos, like you said, but or like a Coulson thing where you bring in one main character, but do as much new as possible. I'm excited for WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I really hope that's not the future. I really hope they stay to the new Avengers, the new movie, and I hope they do something, uh, preferably Sword as a new TV show. I mean, that'd be cool. They go from Agents of Shield to Agents of Sword as the next step forward. I would love if they did that, and brought in this whole new cast, maybe Nick Fury and some of the old Agents of Shield to kind of run it, kind of like Heroes and Heroes Reborn, but just done better.
No, I definitely agree because I feel like once Phase 2 is over, which will be a long ways away. I mean, Phase 1 started, how many years ago?
Yeah,
When was the first Iron Man? I think that was like 2010.
yeah. No, I think that was no 2008 was it? I think it was 2008. It was like 12, 10 years ago. Um,
Exactly. It took 12 to 10 years to complete Phase 1.
No, I think so. I think that's phase 1 through 3 was 12 years, but now phase 4 through 6, 6 is going to be, I think, rumored to be the new. It's hard to keep track. Trust me, I get it. But it took 12 years to finish that whole story arc with everybody, so I see where you're at. All right, well, I'm excited regardless of what they do because I know Marvel just does a really good job, and DC, I mean, it's hard to recover from DC's animated TV shows, and some of their TV shows can be good, but they're not even on par for what Marvel and the MCU has been doing. The DCEU is just not there. It's got some good movies, but it's not there. So I fully trust Marvel with what they're gonna do. Which brings in the next full conversation. We spent a lot of time on theories. My next question for you: what are your top three? What are your feelings about the Shield as its own? And what would be your top three seasons for Marvel's Agents of Shield?
Oof. Well, number 3 is Season 2. Season 2 is number 3 because I really like the mutants. I love just random people who are just nobodies suddenly becoming, a hero or
Hmm.
potentially a villain. Just you could do so much with the whole mutant story. You could give anyone any power. You
Just
can,
to interrupt you
you
real
could.
quick. Um, not that my inner fan nerd is coming out, but it is Inhuman, not mutant. Continue.
Inhuman, human. I guess
No,
I'll
trust me.
use
W-
human
No,
just because of
I,
Shield.
I get it. I think they mainly called them Inhumans, but I think they probably could have called them mutants if they would have had the rights back then. I think that's literally the biggest issue. They probably would have liked to do mutants instead of Inhumans, but it. Let's be honest, basically same thing except mutants are. Just to explain it real quick, I think mutants are more of a you're born with it. In humans, you're born with it, but you also have to be like born through like the what was it like the
Terrigen
crystal.
crystals.
Yes, yes, yes. You have to be able to do that. So okay,
Okay.
keep going.
In humans, um, you know, you can do so much. You can give anyone any power.
Yeah,
You can literally just have someone go through the Terrigen process, and he's just a giant puddle man.
that
You know?
okay. That's my other favorite thing about mute. I actually personally prefer Inhumans versus mutants because I think just that in general they're written better. They're not necessarily like overpowered beings like Wolverine or Storm, or Professor X or Magneto. You've got these people that are like Gordon that can travel, like to Earth, that can teleport, but he's also blind. Like, I mean, come on, that's just geniusly written. I love that a lot. So personally, it's like this double-edged side. That's why I like the Inhumans a little bit more than mutants. I like of course, the famous mutants more, but I like if we're talking story versus story, random mutants versus random heroes, definitely prefer in mutants. So keep going. I said in mutants, in humans.
um, but I feel like season 2 was the best for the Inhumans, just because that's when we started to see Jiaying and the other side of Shield that was separated from what we know. Coulson, May, and so on. I just feel like that was such a good season, and it also
Hmm.
does tie into season 3, but, I figured I would go from where we first saw it. And of course, it carries on through the rest of
Of
the
the show.
series.
Yes, of course. All right, what's your number
Um,
two?
Number two is season 7, the season that this whole podcast is for. Um, I just love the idea of traveling through time.
Hmm.
I love it when shows and movies mess with time. You know, I forget which movie it is. I think it's Inception, but I also want to say no, I'm pretty sure it's Inception. Like everything is timed. If you start a clock when they say, "Oh, we have 15 minutes," it will be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it out with this show, but I'm actually dying to try. When they say, "Oh, we have 15 minutes," I'm interested if it's actually 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, something tells me it isn't because, it's a TV show. I don't think they would be that meticulous with
Yeah.
something like this. But, I just like the idea of you never know what's going to happen next because, even halfway through the episode, you could be in a different timeline. Heck,
I
you
like
can
that.
be
I think
through
they
a
jumped
different universe.
in one episode. I think they jumped through two different times or three different times at one point when it was starting to get really fast. All right, and then what's your number one? What's your best prime season of Shield that you recommend to every viewer?
Season 4.
Is that the one with was that Ghost Rider and then Ada?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy that you know this. Ghost Rider is personally one of my favorite Inhumans. Well, I guess he's not an Inhuman. Did we ever, like, clarify what he was?
No, just a very he's like a super powered guy. That's all.
Alright,
Um,
well, he is my favorite superpower guy.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I like that. I like that. I personally think that you are gonna be mad with what I ranked and how I ranked it. But oh man, I think that I'm a little nervous to tell you, but I think that it's just hard to rank Shield because every season's so good. There are some seasons that are a little slower. There's some stories that are a little more repetitive. But regardless of where you are in Shield, it just gets so good. So let me go ahead and
It
rank it real quick.
it honestly kind of just comes down to personal preference almost. But
Hmm.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so fourth is season 7, only because the Fitz thing just pissed me off so much. If Fitz was in the last 2 or 3 episodes, it probably would have been my number one. But because Fitz is such a pivotal character for me, it really frustrated me a lot. That's why it's number 4. If we're talking how it was written, it was amazing. I think it's definitely highly recommended. But because of the Fitz thing and because of the way they ended some characters, I was a little frustrated with that. That was all. But saying that, one of the best, some of best TV put out there for sure. My number 3 is actually season 2. I really like the Jai Ying story, and one of the underrated aspects is the whole Hydra front in the first half of the season with Daniel Whitehall. Great, great, great TV show. Very gritty. I had not one problem with that season at all. That's why it's at number 3. Um, my second is season 3. You see how I did that? 3 is my 2, 2 is 3. I
Yes.
loved how they took Gemma at the end of season 2, stuck her into a wormhole, showed that whole backstory, but then made that a pivotal part of season 2. The ending, everything. It was gorgeous. And then Hive as a villain at the end was amazing. So I loved just the jump of season 3. I thought it was just so good, and that was if it wasn't for nostalgia and how I see the world, I would probably like season 3 more than any other season. But my number 1 is season 1. Just Shield in and of itself, the codes, the levels, rankings, the cameos, the brilliance that you haven't seen this level of it is just amazing. And I think you and I have sat down and I've told you why I like Clone Wars better than Rebels, why I like the Clone Wars era, I should say, better than the Rebels era, because clearly Clone Wars as a TV show is just better. But if we're talking about, I just personally like the ranks. I love that whole ranking system. I like, okay, color codes and just like the integral aspect of organization. That's why I like season one so much because it really played off of that so well. And then of course it tied in really hard with some of the movies. And then it had one of my favorite characters of all time, Ward, in that season, and his character development was amazing. He went from good guy to sleeper. It was just amazing.
Huh, I can definitely agree with that.
Okay, so let's last Shield talk, and then we'll end this podcast. Out of 10, 1 through 10, what do you rank the whole show, and how highly would you recommend it to a viewer?
Ooh. Hmm.
Do you want me to go first?
Recommending to someone, well, there's two different kind of recommendations. Recommendation to someone who's just looking to binge a show, I would probably rate it like a 9 out of, no, probably 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just because of the slower aspects,
Hmm.
it's almost kind of something that you don't want to binge if you're not really into what it really is.
Marvel
But
fan, yeah.
yeah, if you're nerdy and you'll spend the time to research all the references and go back and watch all the movies so you
Hmm.
know who everyone is when you're first watching the show, then this is just an amazing show. 10 out of 10. I love it. I would honestly, I would rewatch the entire season right now if I had the chance. But I have so much going on, I just don't have time to do that.
I agree.
So,
I agree with that statement
10 out
so
of 10.
much. Yeah, I like that statement. I agree with that. The nerdy aspect, the fan service, and there was a lot of moments where I like how this show progressed. Think about it. Season one, there was a blue alien, a Kree, in a container, or was that season? No, that was the end of season one, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's an alien. But by season like seven, we're all like, alien. So what?
Yeah.
I love the just the progression of the show. And I mean there were so many hidden references, especially if you're like me, who not only read the comics, who not only seen every MCU movie, but who even spent the time to watch cartoon shows which now pay off. I mean, now I mean this was great. It was a really good reference show. It was beautifully done. The character development from beginning to end, Fitzsimmons, the love story, everything. I'm going to name my first female dog probably Simmons or Gemma, and then it'll be Fitzsimmons. I mean, I don't know. I personally love this so much. I think that the writers were genius. It was good. Its slow moments were really slow, and that was frustrating as a fan that just wanted more. But the finales of every single season, the finale always was bigger and better and never disappointed. I always think that was probably the best thing about this show is the finales were always amazing. There was not one where you're like, it was okay. No, they were phenomenal. Every single finale was phenomenal. So
Yes,
I
they
I didn't
definitely
tell
were
you what I ranked
okay,
it
but
today.
some of them were, oh, that's nice, or oh, holy crap, or oh, I guess I'm writing to the devs.
Or Fitz died? Okay, no, he's
Right.
coming back. No, that one messed me up. That I totally forgot about the frozen version of him out there, but that messed me up because I just sat there and was like, lost my breath. um,
Oh no.
I rank this from average from a normal viewer to a Marvel fan a 9 out of 10. It's some of the best TV out there. I say, and we're about to probably do the same thing for the 100 soon, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is probably one of the best TV shows I've ever watched from beginning to end, and it was consistently good. It wasn't like one of those shows that overstayed its welcome. And I'm excited to see how this branches off into future TV shows or just future anything, honestly. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But thank you guys for stopping by. If you guys stayed this long, very doubtful, but if you did, let us know if you watched the new season of Shield and put that in the comments below. If you want to be on a podcast or a short story about a nerd thing, hit me up. We can definitely make something happen with you guys. But thanks for stopping by. Maybe we'll do something like if you bring 5 new subscribers in and they can attest or something, For every 5 new subscribers, we will let one guest in on the podcast going forward. So, thank you guys for stopping by. This has been a great episode. A lot of nostalgia going into this. And if you want some more Agents of Shield content or Marvel content, let us know because this has been an absolute blast of a podcast. A little tired, not gonna lie, but peace out.
Bye.